This programme explores the work of architect Eric Lyons and Span Developments. Together, their radical post-war housing projects combined uncompromisingly modern designs, speedy construction methods, generous landscaping, and a consideration for the occupier. Theirs was a speculative, domestic architecture that engaged the residents. Eric Lyons was born in London in 1912 and began his architectural training in 1929. In 1936, at the age of 23, he went to work for the leading British architect E. Maxwell Fry. Also at Fry's practice at that time was Walter Gropius, founder of the Bauhaus, who had fled Weimar Germany 2 years earlier. It was in this influential company that Lyons developed his rational approach to design, playing with the repetition of form and the standardization of parts. However, like Gropius, he believed in the architect as a leader in the arts, embracing technology but keeping control of it. And so, after the Second World War, Lyons was one of the many young architects enthused by the need to reconstruct Britain. Geoffrey Townsend was a year older than Lyons. By the age of 21, he was designing and building small terraced houses at Witton and Twickenham. Later, he worked as a draftsman at the offices of Robert Lutyens, the son of Edwin, and trained as an architect at evening classes at Regent Street Polytechnic. It was here that he and Lyons met. By 1938, with Townsend's company Modern Homes, Lyons was designing a number of housing schemes. After the war, they secured reconstruction work. Oaklands, a block of flats completed in 1948, epitomised what the Span ideals were to become: generous landscaping, modern style building, and importantly, residents' associations which were legally set up so that all purchasers became covenanted members who were obliged to maintain their own properties. Typical covenants insisted upon particular standards of behaviour. But some of the more intrusive demands were dropped from later leases. While private gardens were not a priority for Lyons, generous communal landscaping was the primary basis for the success of their work. Unimpressed by much of the architecture of the early new towns, Lyons approached housing as landscape architecture. As work picked up, Townsend resigned his membership of the RIBA because conflict of interest rules forbade him from also simultaneously trading as a developer. In 1953, they embarked on the scheme for Parkleys, 175 flats on the Richmond-Kingston boundary. It made their reputation. Lyons formed his own practice, and Townsend teamed up with developer Leslie Bilsby, who he had met in 1952, to form Span Developments. Bilsby was a builder who had access to land and who, like both Lyons and Townsend, had a strong belief in modern architecture. The Span style usually comprised a cross-wall construction with a flat roof and a fully glazed front facade. The external elevations were either clad with wood or terracotta tiles. An early publication stated that their work was intended to span the gap between the suburban monotony of the typical spec building and the architecturally designed, individually built residence. This was housing with a social conscience. As such, their work was outside the perceived architectural mainstream, or pure modernist housing. Over the years, Lyons performed the function of architectural generalist, taking an active involvement in the design, town planning and landscaping requirements of the Span's housing schemes. Actually, Span built only around 2,000 dwellings over 73 schemes, but their influence lives on. Eric Lyons became the president of the RIBA from 1975 until 1977. He died in 1980, leaving a lasting legacy of social housing and community engagement that, to some, has a distinctly contemporary feel.